grand disaster. Led by opposition leader Raila Odinga, the coalition blamed Ruto's regime for plunging the country into an economic crisis, with the cost of living at an all-time high. Odinga further slammed the government for neglecting the education sector, saying the cost of education has gone up by 225%. In true opposition fashion, the Azimio coalition has strongly criticized President William Ruto's government since it took the reins of power 1 year ago.
In the second quarter of 2022, which is the first era of Kwanza regime leading into 2023, the economy grew by only 5.2%. In a similar period in 2021, it grew by 11%.
Opposition chief Raila Odinga noted that the prices of basic commodities has sharply increased owing to poor governance, saying the Kwanza government is run by propaganda.
The ball is squarely in the court of the regime. They either act or await the fate that has fallen other insensitive and incompetent regimes across the continent.
The coalition has castigated Ruto's regime for going against its campaign promises and overtaxing Kenyans at a time when the economy is ailing and increasing the borrowing by 400 billion shillings.
The regime resorted to more borrowing, ignoring the warnings that we are in debt distress and at the risk of debt default. Without blinking an eye, the regime went against its promises to reduce borrowing and did the complete opposite.
The government has further been blamed for ailing businesses, with the macro and micro businesses said to be defaulting loans by an alarming 17%.
Kenyans responded to this turn of events by trying to steady their businesses, especially the small enterprises. But those efforts were in vain as interest rates rose through the roof and more taxes hit those businesses.
Odinga slammed the Ruto regime as one that has disregarded education, saying while cost of education has extraordinarily increased, the quality is dismal.
In 1 year, Kwanza has thrown the education sector into a deep financial crisis. In public, Kwanza administration continues to talk about free education. The reality in our schools and homes across Kenya is that education is no longer free, either in primary or secondary schools.
The coalition criticized the new fuel prices as an indication that the matters will only get worse.
No amount of fertilizer will lower the cost of food as long as the cost of fuel is unchecked. Diesel is one of the highest costs in farming. Even if you give the citizen a bag of fertilizer, but make it impossible for her or him to plow an acre of land, you have not solved the problem.
Odinga has assured Kenyans that the cost of living will be top of the agenda at the National Dialogue talks, with electoral justice a close second. And staying on that,